So we're going to do a little different video today. It's a fertilizer video. Haven't been doing a whole lot of yard stuff because, well, hasn't been a lot of problems and fertilizing is boring. However, just because it's boring doesn't mean it's not important. So we're going to go over something that I want to go discuss about. That's going to be, in my opinion, now that's going to be a big caveat on that, my opinion, which one is going to be the best to, if you are just going to be doing just one, and that's all. Obviously, there's not just one. I use all three of these, and we'll continue on. So, if inevitably, if you're going to be going anywhere on YouTube, you're going to run into these three fertilizers. This is PGF Complete, this is Flagship from Yard Mastery, and that is Milorganite, everyone's super favorite until about a couple years ago when everyone decided to come out with their own, and now they don't like it. Having said that, we're going to go over some pros, cons, the price, and a couple other small details about the both of them, or excuse me, all three of them. And then at the end of it, we're going to compare and go from there. Now, like I said, I paid for all these. I'm going to be using all three of these throughout the year. Probably going to be spreading my favorite one, so watch the end of it tomorrow. And we'll take it from there. But let's get down to what we're actually going to be talking about. We're going to break these down. It's going to get a little talky, I apologize, but stay tuned for the end because you'll see some good points and I'll make my recommendation going forward. Forgive my poor handwriting. I'm staring at the back of you, so beware. So the first thing we're going to look over is Milorganite. So this is going to be the hard one. I'm just going to go off what I paid for it. I paid $14.88. Now, I'm not going to worry about how many pounds because, to be honest, pounds means nothing to me. I just want to know how many square feet that's going to cover. According to the bag, that's going to cover 2,500. So now we know $14.88 is going to cover 2,500 square feet. So more likely than not, unless you have a very small yard, they're going to be buying at least 2 bags. But let's continue on. Whenever we talk about stuff like this, we're going to break it down to 1,000 square feet. So if we're going to break that down to 1,000 square feet, we're going to divide 1488 by 2.5 because we're basically just going to drop the zeros and put another, math. What does that equate out to? That is about $5.95 per 1,000 square feet. And what does that give us? That gives us 6% nitrogen, 4% phosphorus, and 0% potassium. Now, that zero is not 100% zero. There is a minimal amount, but I think once you can't even get to a certain point, you can't even claim it, and it's not even at that point. So that's pretty important to kind of go over. I'm about to get a new notebook here soon. Anyway, so let's go over some pros. So, obviously, everyone loves it, and they love it for certain reasons, and these are going to be it. First one is it doesn't burn. Now, what does that mean? Burning just means that if you put too much down, it's not going to kill the grass, it's not going to cause any damage. I mean, it might if it suffocates it, but that's really the main thing. Now, if you look at the bag, it also claims that's natural. The older bags even use the word organic. So if you're into natural gardening or anything, that is going to be a benefit for you. Iron rich. What is that and why? Well, iron basically is used by the grass to give it a much more sought after color, a little darker green, bluish color. Certain grass types really can do well with that. Kentucky bluegrass is pretty common, stuff like that. So if you want that color, iron's where you want to go. It's also slow releasing. Why is that important? Well, it's because if you put a large amount down, or the normal amount, if it rains or in a couple weeks or even a week, you could be mowing very consistently and it's going to be a whole lot of grass trimmings. If it's fast release. Slow release, you're not going to have such a huge rush of growth. Also promotes healthy soil. Anything that you can do to make your soil healthier, that's always a good thing. This is a big one for some. It is pet/family safe. Oops, family safe. Safe. So you don't have to worry about excess chemicals. You don't have to worry about a whole lot of stuff. So that's a real big one. Another one is prill size. What is prill size? Well, prill size is the size of individual pieces. They're very small. You don't really want something that's super big, because if it is, then it doesn't distribute very well. You just have a few pieces. Let's say one big piece can go into 10 small pieces. It's easier to evenly distribute 10 small pieces than it is for one big piece, because the area around the big piece is going to be super saturated, and the areas around that it's going to progressively get less. So smaller prill size is a benefit. Now, we also do have to talk about some cons, so let's do that. What are some cons? Well, if you need it to be a con, being slow release can be a con. It's not going to be used for fast projects. If there's damage, or if you need to do anything in a certain time period, you're going to have to extend that out a lot farther. So, it's a bonus or a negative. The smell, some people don't like the smell. Some people like it. The people who don't like it are usually the ones that are not the one applying it. For instance, who you live with. I don't know about you, but for whatever reason, Miss P&W always seems to invite people over as soon as I put that down, and it turns into a big problem, because apparently stuff is supposed to be going around that schedule instead of fertilizing schedules. So smell can be a problem. Now, this is a kind of a big one, the NPK balance. That NPK is that 640. In my area, and a lot of soils around my area, the nitrogen, that doesn't matter. You can apply more, it's not going to be a problem. Not having or having too much phosphorus, because the more nitrogen you're putting down, you're not putting that much less phosphorus in there. Phosphorus sticks in the soil very, very well. And it takes a long time for that to release and to be used, especially if you have imbalances in your soil. So it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse. Nitrogen, there's not that big of a problem. Potassium, there is none. So the balance is not very good. So if you use only Milorganite, you're probably going to be deficient and excessive in one, at least one. So, yeah. Next one is the temperature usage. This is only good in warmer times. It's not good for colder times. It won't really be of any benefit. The soil does need to be at a certain temperature. However, those temperatures are usually when the grass is really starting to grow at its height and its peak, or when it's too hot, and then the grass, because it's slowly using or releasing, can use it a lot easier. So the temperature range, it's kind of a benefit, kind of a negative, but I'm going to say that it's more of a negative, because I like to put some down to early spring and late fall, just to kind of give a quick boost and a quick, more or less quick boost on either side. This is not going to be the one you're going to want to use. So I'm going to say it's more of a negative. The other one's going to be just pounds. You have to put down a lot. That is, I believe, a 32 or 35 pound bag to cover only 2,500 square feet. That is a lot of weight. So you're going to be packing some bags, so be prepared for that. Just my yard alone takes about just under 3. So if you're going to be doing a lot, I mean, you're going to, have at least 3 big bags in the back of your car, or having to load it up in a cart or whatever. So pounds can be a little troublesome. And then finally, availability. So there's been a big thing about it being shorting out in different places. There's not a very good quantity being shipped out because everyone likes it. Everyone buys it up. So people, because they do have to buy like 10 bags at a time, they will just buy 10 bags at a time. So in the store only carries like 15 or 20 bags, or even in my case, they only carry 3 bags at a time. I have to buy it all. So availability is a pretty big one. So that's Milo. Let's break down. Let's do flagship next. New notebook, new fertilizer. Let's continue. So what do we have? This cost me, and this is at the time, of course, and I bought it online because I'm pretty sure it's all the only place you can get it. It was $44.99, and that covers 6,000 square feet. So what does that mean? It means if we look at the cost, it is going to cost us roughly $7.50 per 1,000 square feet. So if you remember from the Milo one, that's going to be a lot higher. So we are almost doubling. No, not quite doubling. We're about 50% more, let's say that. So, we'll move forward. But what are we getting? Well, that's completely different. We have a 2406. Now they make others, obviously. This is just the one I got, and that was, I believe, the most popular, at least on the website I went to. So for the most popular, common, 2406. That's 24% nitrogen, no phosphorus, and 6% potassium. I like this because I rarely even have to put down any phosphorus at all, and even when I do, I'll put Milo down. So I like having a 0 right there. So that's good. So let's go ahead and do some pros and cons. So we'll do this side being pros and the other side doing cons. We'll do it a little differently than the last time. We will simply just do them one at a time. So first thing, where do we start with? Let's start with pro. We'll be that person. So pro, con, 3% iron. Or that's Fe if you want to be that person. So 3% iron, that's pretty good. That will, like I said, give you that nice color. So that's definitely a benefit. The con, which I think is the worst one about this, is prill size. It is a big prill. Remember how I said that it's a lot easier to have a better coverage? That's a pretty big one. So they're not horrible. They're not like, you're throwing Oreos in your grass or anything, but they're also not as small as Milorganite. Milorganite's a little also inconsistent, but they're generally a lot smaller. So there's that. So let's go to another pro, and that is going to be, it's a 24% slow release. So what does that mean? That means that 24% of it's going to be slow release, so we're not going to have a sudden jolt of huge amount of growth. But on the other flip side of that coin, 76% of it is fast release. So that can be a con or a benefit. However, these two can literally switch depending on your application. So I'm just going to leave it where it is. Move it how you want to do it. If you want to have something that just maintain, have good color, everything's good, there's no problems, nothing to be fixed, having 76% of it being fast release is going to be a con. However, you're trying to fix something, having 76% fast release is going to be a benefit. So however you want to go about it, it's up to you. Pro, 6% Potassium. Organite has none. Potassium is very good for stressful times in the middle of the summer. It's good to have a good amount. So, and also gives a nice color as well, mainly because it's not distressed. 6% potassium. So that's a pretty good thing in comparison to the other one. Availability is a con. At least where I can get it, is only online, and it takes a while. It took like 4 to 5 days. That's not horrible, but if you forget about it, it's like Thursday, you want to do it on the weekend, you know, you're gonna have to wait until next weekend, or you'll have to do it after work or whatever. So availability is a little hard. I haven't run across where they've ever been out, so that's a good thing. So now we have another pro. Pro is that it's spiked with Bionite. According to the bag, that is like a local Floridian version of Milo. So it does have some organic material, or excuse me, natural material in there. So that's always good, having that mixture, not having everything being synthetic, and it definitely puts it in the pro category. Con, well, that one's just going to be the price. I notice how the first and the last ones are usually the most important. It's a little expensive, $7.50 per square foot. If you had a 10,000 square foot lawn, which isn't that uncommon, you're going to be spending $75. And according to, if you're going to follow a decent amount of fertilizing regimens, you're going to be spending that at least every 6 to 8 weeks. Let's say you start in April and you end in October. What is that? That's April, May, June, July, August, September. That's 6 months. And you say you're going to do that 4 to 5 times. You're spending $300 to $375 in fertilizer. So that's not horrible, I suppose, but still, can get a little steep, So price is definitely going to be on our list. Now we're going to go to the next one. And what is that? That is the PGF. So I paid $36.79 for something that bagged rate of 5,000 square feet. So if we take 5 divided by that, it's approximately $7.36 per 1,000 square feet. So it's very, very similar to the flagship. But if you notice, it does cover less ground. So if you're that awkward position where 5,000 isn't enough, let's say you have exactly 6,000, you're gonna have to get 2, and then you're gonna have like a 75 to 80% bag full, just chilling in your shed or garage. But the one I got, however, is a 1648. They do make a 1608. And as far as I can tell, it is the same price. However, this one was not available at the time. So this one always is available, but this one is the one I usually end up buying, mainly because it's closer to the flagship. So for comparison purposes, we're going to imagine it's like that, but more or less it's the same price. I think it was like even $37 or something. Anyway. So let's continue on with some pros and cons. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing as before. Pros, cons, we're going to do all that. So what do we have? Let's do our pro first. Pro is it has humic, which if you were watching anything on YouTube in the year 2019, 20, all that, everyone was about humic until they stopped for whatever reason. But I do believe it's good because it's a carbon-based product. It puts carbon in the soil, allows your plant to absorb it better. It just makes it a little easier. So that's a pro. Cons, yet again, it appears to be the same thing, availability. Except this one is a little bit different. This one I can buy at like 4 o'clock on a Friday, and it will be on my doorstep by Saturday. The only problem is sometimes they're out, so, or it's unavailable or out of stock. So that's not always the case. So majority of the time, I want to say 4 out of 5 times I'm able to get it, but that one time, you know, you do have other options, obviously, but if you really wanted to use that, sometimes unavailability will last quite a while, and sometimes it only lasts another day. So availability. According to the bag, it feeds up to 8 weeks. So that's good. That means you're cutting your fertilizing schedule in pretty much every 2 months. So if you continued on with that that 6-month fertilizing schedule, you only have to fertilize 3 times. So you're saving yourself at least 1 or 2 fertilizations. You still can fertilize more if you want to, but you don't have to. It can fertilize up to 8 weeks. So if you just want to have something that's nice and slow and, you know, there's no problems, that could be a real big benefit towards you. Now, the price is also a little steep, so I'm gonna put that on the con. It's not that bad, especially if you're not having to fertilize as many times. So, but it's still a con because I would like to have a little bit cheaper. But what isn't more expensive these days, you know? Pro, the prill size. It is very small, very, very small, which I like. Like I said, easily dispersible, very even, less likelihood of hot spots or green areas and not so green areas. So I really like that. This is just kind of like a nitpick thing for me, but let's say, so 18 pounds is 5,000 square feet, right? They make a 18 or a 40, and they even make a 40 with 14% humic. The other one is only 7%. So they make those two. However, the 18 can be just not enough. The 40, well, that's over double. So you're kind of stuck in that weird little limbo area. So that's kind of a con. I would like it better if it was just something easy. The average, at least in my area, according to some research I was doing, the average lawn size in my area is actually only 2,900 square feet. That's mainly because very, very close to me, you literally can knock on your neighbor's window and ask them a question, because that's just how they build houses here now. But putting that aside, the people who have 56, 58, 59, 6,000, you're kind of either getting an 18 and having a bag left over, or a 40 and still having a bag left over, but just a little bit less. So no, whatever that is. So I'm going to put that as a con just because it's kind of just annoying. Pro, 3% iron, just as the previous. So they all have iron, so that's good. And I'm going to do another pro here. It has something called DG particles. What DG particles is, you can actually take a piece, in fact we could probably do it in a couple minutes, and put them in some water and they'll actually break up for you. So let's go ahead and do a quick little experiment. Okay, so over here we have our, you saw my cheat notes. Anyway, over here we have the particles. We're going to pour some water in them. So what ends up happening is when they get in contact with water, they start to break down very quickly. And that breaking down very quickly starts to dissolve them very quickly in the soil. Like you see the markings on it. My fingers, it's starting to break down into tiny little pieces. See how its water is getting cloudier and cloudier? So I like that just because one good watering and it's pretty much done. You don't have to wait for a super long time, which is nice because if you do have pets or kids or whatnot, you don't have to worry about them running into dealing with that type of stuff. So that part is actually kind of nice. So what do we come up with? Well, having weighed both the pros, the cons, and everything else, let's make a list of probably not. Excuse the writing. No, let's not even do that. So what do we have? We have Milo or Milorganite. We have the flagship. And we have the Anderson's PGF. Milo, I know everyone, I kind of made fun of everyone not liking it now because they have their own, but however, just knowing that the temperature restrictions and the real big problem for me, so it's put down 2 reasons why we don't want to and 2 reasons why we would. So that is going to be the MPK and the temp. Those are the reasons why I wouldn't. The reasons why I would is the natural as well as the iron. These 2 don't outweigh them for me. So Milo, with the exception maybe 1 or 2 times a year, which like I said, I still will. I will put it probably the end of June. And that way 4th of July is right around the corner. It does, I believe the iron in there just gets absorbed better for whatever reason in my lawn at least. So unfortunately, I'm not going to be doing Milo if I had to choose just one. Flagship. Well, we have the fast, which I think is a good thing, but not everyone can. I know I put in a negative, but like I said, they can switch back and forth. And we do have that, it has natural and everything. So it's hard to really say just another one. But I think I will choose the MPK. Has a very good balance. I really do like that. It's a good balance. The negative ones are going to be the Prill and let's say probably the biggest one for me is going to be the availability. Which I know. It's not that big of a problem as long as you plan it ahead, but sometimes I forget. So if you never forget, pat yourself on the back right now. So can leave you in suspense. Do the same thing for the PG&E. The Prill is a real big one for me, and the DGF, or not the DGF, the DG, there we go. DG, dispersible granular, I think that's what it's called in the bag. The price and availability. So which one would I choose between the 2? So, done. I am gonna have to go to not the flagship. The only reason why is the Prill size is a big one and availability is a big one. When it's available, I can get this fast. at least it worked out in my case. When I can't get it, I can just go to the store and get Milo. And it's usually when I can't get it is around the 4th of July because everyone else is using it, but I don't use it then anyway, so it doesn't matter. So in my scenario, PG and F is just my favorite one because I really like the prill size. The prill size, if you can just, you could put prill size and the MPK ratio just together, and just the general ingredients are pretty high quality, just like Flagship, don't get me wrong, they're both very high quality. So just considering the prill size and everything, I really like PG and F. So a little different. Let's take a look at our little test plot here, and as you can tell, it's pretty milky and pretty sooty. There's a lot of granulars dispersing right now, so like I said. And did you see how small they were? Like I said, pretty good sized. Well, if you stuck around, leave a comment below. Definitely subscribe. If you have a different idea, or maybe a pro or con I didn't mention on, maybe another con I don't have for PG and F, or another pro and for Flagship, or another pro or con for Milo that might sway this, leave a comment below. But other than that, this is going to be my opinion. If you like it, put a thumbs up. Follow me on on Instagram at SmallEngine101, and I will catch you on the next video. Have a good night.